we're coming to you on a Sunday night this week with bad news. If you are a Yankees fan, it has been a tough week to read the Daily Wire coming from Brian Hoke or Joel Sherman or John Heyman. If you're reading a lot of the news that's dropping from the New York Yankees spring training camp, you know very well that the roster you're going to see on opening day may not be the roster that you'd hope. We got served a healthy dish of the injury bug early, finding out that Giancarlo Stanton was going to be out with a personal matter that hasn't been really disclosed yet, and a case of tennis elbow in both arms due to his violent swing. That's what the reporting has been saying lately. And you can kind of buy that. He had an amazing postseason last year, 7 home runs, 14 ribbies. I believe that those were the numbers. I could be wrong, but he was, if without Stanton, because of the slump of Aaron Judge, the Yankees would not be defending AL champs as they are now. So he was a critical and key part of the Yankees lineup that is down, and they're getting those elbows examined. He's going to start the season on the IL, and so that's bad enough. And then you hear the news of LeMahieu, second day of spring trainings, basically pulling a calf. That's not a good sign. And you feel for DJ. I love DJ as a player. He's my favorite player on the Yankees ever since his 2020 season. 2019. He, to me, when he was nicknamed the Machine, he was my favorite player to watch, but he has been just mired and plagued with injuries over the last 5 years that you hear this news coming out of camp and you feel for the guy, but it's not unexpected. It's not unexpected. Just like Brian Cashman said of Giancarlo Stanton, injury seems to find DJ LeMahieu. So that's not good. That's bad news. The gray cloud that is forming over Yankees camp right now is getting darker by the moment. And then you hear Luis Gil. Luis Gil goes down with a lat strain. He's going to miss time. They say somewhere in the summer. Maybe that means June, but it doesn't seem like that timetable fits. And with the careful hands that the Yankees are going to use with Luis Gil, the reigning Rookie of the Year, I can't imagine you're going to see him sooner than an All-Star break appearance. They're going to play it safe with him. He's early in his career. And at this point, you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, we can weather the storm. I don't think it's going to be that bad. And then you hear the injury that really puts it over the top. And that is that Gerrit Cole feels discomfort in his right elbow. And whenever you hear that sound or that phrase uttered, you feel the panic set in as a Yankee fan. You never want to see this happen to your workhorse. You never want to see this happen to your ace. And all of a sudden, all Yankee fandom is having deja vu all over again. Last year, you might recall, Gerrit Cole had this very thing happen. Had a couple starts in spring training, felt discomfort. He wasn't bouncing back as quickly as he'd want to. And, you say, okay, well, you're getting older, Gerrit, You're not a spring chicken. You're not a spring chicken anymore. Maybe it's going to take a little bit longer, but it didn't feel normal. So they went and they had a doctor look at it, probably the team doctor. Then they had second opinions. They flew him to California at one point. I can't remember exactly the same timetable, but they've done this before. And no tear was revealed in his UCL, in that little tendon that connects the elbow and the arm. And I'm not a doctor, but little things were not torn in there. So they figured, hey, let's give him 2 months off. And Gerrit decided to make his, and the team decided to make his debut somewhere in the middle of June, where Gerrit went about 8-5 or so, 8-4 maybe. But he led the team when he finally stepped up, albeit he had a couple rough outings, led the team and worked into the postseason, was the warhorse that you needed him to be. And, even though he made less than 20 starts last year, he still made his impact known. And let's not forget, the Yankees were bevied. They were held above water by impressive pitching in the first half. And Luis Gil, who really no one saw coming, who really pitched his heart out in the beginning of the year to like a 9-1 start, something like that, and really showed the American League that he's a formidable pitcher when he's on. The second half didn't necessarily match that, but he had an impressive start. And really, those wins that Gerrit gave the team in 2023, when he was the Cy Young Award winner, were made up by impressive starting pitching in the first half by the 2024 team. And so, in a way, the Yankees really weathered a storm and did it pretty well. And they rode the coattails of the presence of Juan Soto. And you almost, in the back of your mind, you forgot that Cole, wasn't part of the team for the first 2 months, right? Like, they really did a good job fostering their pitching, and everybody was relatively healthy to begin the year. And then you see this article here that came out today. This is from the New York Post, and let me see if I can get this up. Let me push here. There we go. Pessimistic Brian Cashman prepared for the worst with Gerrit Cole elbow injury. And that's from Bridget Riley of the New York Post. Brian Cashman didn't have an update or much optimism on Gerrit Cole's condition one day after the Yankees ace said he was concerned, quote, concerned. Gerrit Cole said he was concerned about his elbow. This is Brian Cashman. Quote, I'm prepared for the worst, the Yankees GM said before a 6-5 Grapefruit League loss to the Cardinals. We will see how it plays out. I'm always wired to think the worst and hope for the best. Cashman added, quote, obviously not what you want, but ultimately it's part of our journey here in 2025. Are you getting deja vu? Are you thinking it's 2024? Because I'm here to remind you it's not. It's 2025. And we are going through the same thing we did last year with Gerrit Cole. And remember, the sequel is never as good as the original. That is a fact. The chances and the odds of Gerrit Cole weathering this injury one more year by sitting out 2 months, one is probably not going to happen. Two, probably makes you raise a question in your mind going, am I going to have to miss the first 2 months of every season in order for my arm to be rehabbed? Surely at this point, it's worsened if this is the route that we're taking. Gerrit Cole said he's concerned about the state of his elbow. They're getting a second opinion, as they obviously would. You would imagine that the Yankees ace at this point is probably headed towards some sort of UCL injury and might put him out an extended period of time. Now, if Tommy John surgery usually puts you out about 1.5 years, not only just for the surgery itself, but for the rehab, more for the rehab of your arm. And you got to imagine that the torque that Gerrit Cole's putting on his arm every year started to rear its ugly face last year And this can't be good if this is repeating again. Honestly, I would have been surprised had Gerrit Cole come out this year ready to go, and it was just a blip on the radar. It seemed idealistic to think that the Yankees would get away with what seems to be troubling every pitcher, not just Gerrit Cole, every pitcher in the league at a certain point and at a certain age. So assuming that Gerrit Cole is out for an extended period of time, boy, does it make you think about all the trades and everything that happened this offseason, and boy, does it make Yankee fans at ease that Juan Soto left for the Mets. Because had Juan Soto not left for top dollar, even though despite all the stuff that he's saying now in the press, and you got to believe that's completely a narrative spin. It's spin doctor at its best. Juan Soto coming out and saying that other teams offered more money. Sure it is. I have no proof, but, I just don't believe it. I don't buy it. You got to look back at the situation and thank God that Soto didn't sign, because the Yankees rebounded and went and got a Max Fried. In years past, 3 years ago, they got a Carlos Rodon. A year ago, they got a Marcus Stroman, who's miraculously was trade bait last week and now is a formidable part of this bullpen. This starting rotation. Clark Schmidt, who, let's not forget, has been out and suffering from an achy back. That seems to be his injury of choice, is now a key part of this rotation. It's all going to come down to how long the Yankees are going to be without Cole. If this ends up being a 2-month situation again because they elect not to go with surgery, then, hey, we can weather the storm until June. And then, again, it's test the waters time, right? It is the same narrative as we pushed last year everybody pushed last year of why wait at this point? It's going to rear its ugly head at some point for Tommy John surgery, so why not just get it over with and eat the cost? Certainly makes you think about what they're going to do here, because after the first year this happened, a lot of people were clamoring, go do the surgery, just get it over with. But as a pitcher, you don't a lot of people have come back from Tommy John, but are you willing to put in that rehab? That's a tough rehab. Everybody comes back faster. But look at Shohei Ohtani right now. Got a mystery surgery. Hasn't pitched yet that we know of. So maybe that rehab. And when Gerrit Cole, who's 34 years old right now, that means he's not really in the game until his 36-year-old season, right? Puts him in a different spot. And then you're sitting on an arm that has one Tommy John and hoping that it lasts maybe until season 40, right? Until the next couple of years of your contract are up. When is Gerrit's contract up? He just opted back in. Let's see if I can get that up. Gerrit Cole. Let's see. Gerrit Cole exercised his opt-out from the New York Yankees contract, giving the team 2 days to void the opt-out by adding $36 million for 2029, a person familiar with the decision told the Associated Press. That was November 2nd of 2024, according to Fox Sports. He decided to take back that opt-out. And then it kind of makes you think, too, like, did they know, right? This is completely speculative, but, like, maybe that's the reason they opted back in. Maybe they knew that the status of the elbow was unclear, or maybe the Yankees, said, hey, if you want to test the market, they're going to have to pass your physical at some point if you want to sign somewhere. So maybe that's the reason that weird opt-out, opt-in thing happened, right? Maybe they were just unsure of the state of everybody. I don't know. That's completely speculation. But the Yankees are going to have to do something, and what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to push forward right now, knowing that Gerrit Cole might not be a formidable part of this season for 2025. So players like Max Fried, players like Carlos Rodon. Carlos Rodon has to improve. It has to be what he was last year to this team again. Be the number two, the formidable number two starter you were supposed to be. And you got better. You became more than a two-pitch pitcher. You have to be that person again. Max Fried on his contract year has to show up. He is now the ace, assuming that Gerrit Cole is going to be out. And Gerrit Cole, if he is out for an extended period of time, Gerrit Cole has to do what he did last year. Be that pitching coach. Be that mentor in the dugout for younger pitchers to feed off of, right? Plenty of Yankee pitchers, young pitchers, have said that Gerrit Cole is basically the second Matt Blake on the team. So you have to be that role as you're doing your rehab and as you're coming back in order to bolster what is going to be a Yankee rotation that is truly standing up like a house of cards. Because if any one of those starters go down, you're looking at Carlos Carrasco, Will Warren. If you haven't remembered, Will Warren made a major league debut, gave up like 1,000 runs in the first inning. Wasn't the greatest debut. But the Yankees are going to have to find depth in their system, or they're going to have to trade for some depth, and they're going to have to trade for some other consistent pitching. It's amazing to me, just going back, to how quickly storylines can change in the game. A couple weeks ago, everything was great. Everything was dandy. Everything was fine. And then you see G go down. You see DJ LeMahieu go down. You see Heel go down, who was really slotted to be a big part of this rotation. I mean, the Yankees were talking about having too much depth. And this is when Brian Cashman says you can't have enough pitching. This is exactly the reason why. Because starting pitching in this league, currently as it's formed, starting pitching doesn't last. It barely lasts 5 innings, and it barely lasts through the season without some sort of elbow injury. So it will be interesting to see what comes of this situation. Obviously, you hope that the guy is not injured. You hope that Gerrit Cole is not injured. You hope that he would start the season fresh. That's definitely not going to happen. You can't really blame the Yankees for not saying anything about these situations. I always kind of wonder to myself whether the team is just held by like HIPAA laws. Like, you can't just go around saying, "Oh yeah, his elbow's broken." You know, you have to wait for the player to give you the right to talk about it, of course. So the lack of transparency here is understandable and expected. The Yankees have never been that forthright. But the fact that, Brian Cashman is saying he's expecting the worst, well, it doesn't necessarily put you in a good mood on Sunday night waiting for the baseball season. It's a little bit concerning. So, man, makes you think about what the Yankees are going to do post-Cole, right? They've signed Max Fried to a long contract. He's obviously going to be the new, he's going to be the warhorse behind Gerrit once Gerrit is finished with his contract. But, these Yankees that we've been looking at year after year after year, Aaron Judge is getting up there in age. Gerrit Cole is getting up there in age, right? We got to start looking towards the future, younger, and start trending younger because, Gerrit Cole's had an amazing year, but eventually, time and time again, has shown us that the more bullets you throw, man, that elbow surely gets tested.